Money in the Bank match was awesome. I enjoyed it. It was interesting, wacky, fun, you name it. So today we're going to talk about the Money in the Bank ladder match and, of course, what happened with Japanese promotion Wrestle-1 now that they closed the doors and now it appears talk has been rising about a possible NXT Japan. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Lead It Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everyone, hope everybody had a great Mother's Day yesterday. I know I did. I was watching Money in the Bank pay per view, well, maybe half of it with my parents and my brother at his apartment, and it was awesome. I had a great time. Hope you guys did too. Had a great Mother's Day. So let's get started. So the only thing on this part of the subject we're going to talk about is Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, this is not your typical traditional ladder match that we have seen over the years, since we're still dealing with the crucial times with the whole pandemic and all this other stuff, so they had to change it up a bit. While majority of the pay-per-view was being filmed down in at the Performance Center Orlando, the Money in the Bank match took place at Titan Tower in Connecticut, which is the WWE headquarters, which was kind of like what they were trying to do. So they had both the men's in the same building but separated in different parts. For in the lobby area, they had the women's. We had it started out with two people each from each side. So we're going to do that with the sequence. For the men's side, started out with Lacey Evans and Nia Jax. The men's, AJ Styles and Otis. Back to women's, um, Carmella, Shayna Baszler. Men's, King Corbin and Aleister Black. Back to women's, we see Dana Brooke being there, but no sign of Asuka. And of course, for the men's, we see Rey Mysterio and Daniel Bryan. Now, for the women's, how it started out, no one knew where Asuka is, even though she's in the match. All of a sudden, they hear a noise coming from the upper level in the lobby, and it was Asuka right in the edge of it, and she was being all crazy, wacky, whatever she was doing, and jumped on top of everyone to knock them out. And while that was happening, she got on the elevator while everybody took the damn stairs, and she was like being the most happiest individual on the planet. While this was happening, the men, they were in the gym, so the fight broke down and Baron Corbin broke a window, so he's gonna expect a little, how do I say, message and memo in the board. You owe money to rebuild the damn mirror. So that'll be sad. But here's the thing: during the start, me and my brother kind of already picked who we believe is gonna win. For me, I voted for Asuka, and he voted for Shayna. Now, for me, the reason I picked Asuka was because she was being the sneakiest one out of all the women who was in the entire thing, and it was great. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Now, for the men's, we kind of agree with the same guy, AJ Styles. So, but we'll get to that. But it was great in certain sequences of the whole point. When AJ was left behind, being on top of dumbbells, thanks to Otis, and he asked for Ray for help, and still people are still try to hide out from everybody, even though there was a moment where you had Baron Corbin, Otis, Daniel Bryan, and Aleister Black in the same elevator, while Ray is still trying to catch up. While they reached this area of the elevator, there was Shayna, Lacey, and Carmella. They were waiting for Asuka, but while they were waiting, here comes the men's, and they just don't know what to make of it. Asuka was trying to be the sneakiest of them all, tried to outsmart everyone. So that's the reason I voted for her. She was trying to be the smart one, tried to avoid them, knowing that she could get either a chance of the briefcase. So that was the reason it happened. And one of the funniest moments right after that, uh, Daniel was doing the kicks, and of course, remember when he does the kicks, everybody goes yes, and then Otis was doing the same thing. I think it kind of felt like the Void because there's no audience, and it kind of made it fun, and it was funny. And then Brian took his attention to Otis and did the same thing. Well, all of this was happening during afterwards. AJ was looking for Rey Mysterio, so he had no clue where to find him. So he sees like a little poster of him, and then he goes and sees a poster of Undertaker. Like he's still haunted after he was being buried alive, and he found a room that kind of has the casket, and Aleister Black just kicked him in there, and he closed the door. Like, Aleister Black, how he looks. He's like being the dark messiah person type. So he left him there. And the women's side, we go back. They're still trying to find Asuka. They don't know where she is. They go into this one conference room, and it was Shayna, Nia, Carmella, and Dana Brooks. While that was happening, um, everybody was getting knocked out. Everybody was taken out except for Dana. She whacked the Nia Jax with the chair. Now, as soon as she leaves, she sees like a briefcase of money, and all of a sudden, she thought she won. Now, I was like thinking, there's no way that's the Money in the Bank, because the case is all white. And then here comes Stephanie saying, "What are you doing? This is the Money in the Bank conference room." And basically, she kind of blew her chances, and he was telling Roof, but Stephanie wasn't really there because I know they're trying to keep their social distancing. Because if you look at the filter of her shot, it looks more like something out of a phone. And if you look clearly, that kind of changes, but it fits perfectly how it went. So, but all of a sudden, Carmella grabbed a portrait of herself when she first won Money in the Bank, whacked Dana, and as soon as she was leaving, she gets the knocked down by Lacey Evans with the women's right punch, and all went mayhem. Now, there was a scene where Rey Mysterio was somewhere down the line. I skipped ahead a bit. He runs into Brother Love coming out of the bathroom, and of course, and then we see Stephanie, and then we see somewhere Paul Heyman was having like this whole fest of food in the catering section, which I thought was a classic moment. Seeing that happening. You see all the men, all the women looking at each other, and all of a sudden, Dana Brooke comes out still with the frame, knocks Paul Heyman, but the food get into Otis, and he lost his mind, and he started the food fight, and it kind of changed it. There was a moment where Shayna put Rey Mysterio in the sleeper hold, and he got crushed. Poor little Ray. He got crushed by both Nia Jax and Otis, and it was so fun. And then I see right in a moment, Nia Jax took out both Dana Brooks and Carmella, and then all of a sudden you see Otis still eating a sandwich, like getting in her face, like I thought that was one of the funniest moment. I just don't know what was up with that. I'm like, and then I think the next part of the whole thing that makes it fun was Daniel Bryan and AJ accidentally went into the boss's office, Vince's office. Now, as soon as they went into the office, then you see Vince, and his theme song shows up. No chance. It's what you and they didn't realize, and he's like, out. And of course, AJ told Brian that they need to rearrange the chairs back to where they were. It was so hilarious to see that happening because you don't often see that type of thing happen. Now, originally, the writers thought maybe they should have trashed The Office, but Vince was not on board on that because he was worried about the dinosaur head that was on the wall. Wrestle News actually mentioned that. You can find that on their website because it mentions that he was not cool with the idea of his office being trashed because he was worried about the dinosaur head that's right on his wall. But, that's the reason it happened. But later we see the women's, the only four that were there. You see Nia, you see Asuka, who else? Lacey. and Shayna, they're trying to win the tie, to get the briefcase as much as possible. And of course, Asuka was trying to grab her case, but of course, Baron Corbin, who is desperate trying to win, since he believes that it's his time, he pissed off Asuka. He didn't just give her time to get her case. He wanted to get his case now, so he got whacked by her, and then Asuka won the the briefcase. So I was right. I was like, okay, I was right that she was gonna win it. For some reason, I thought she deserved it more than anything. Then we go to the men's. We don't know who we see. We see Otis, then Baron Corbin. Here comes Aleister Black. Um, who else? Almost all the men showed up, but there was a few moments where you see Baron Corbin tosses Ray and Aleister over the edge of the building. Like, we know there's another floor level, and I'm assuming they must have had padding because it was a sound, something you hear when you're like there's a mat down there, which is something that was possibly was meant to happen. I'm not sure. But the moment we see in this part of the match is we see Baron and AJ trying to get the case. And we don't know what was going to happen. So both men took out the case out of the clip. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here comes Elias getting retribution for what Baron Corbin did to him. And AJ lost control of his grip of the briefcase. And all of a sudden, Otis wins it. And it was so, like, huh? Like, if you guys ever seen the movie, Mighty Ducks 3, do you remember the scene where Charlie was about to finish the game? He had everything under his control. He was doing the triple dig. He was about to make the goal, but he knew there was no way. He needed to distract someone, and he passed the puck back. And then he passed the puck to Goldberg. And of course, everybody, Goldberg takes a shot, and then you see both Portman and Ken are like, Goldberg? It felt that way with Otis, because it was like you never expected out of nowhere that Otis was gonna win it, But I like how it turned out, and of course he did that whole Rocky thing. You remember, like, AJ, I did it. He did the same thing with now saying Mandy's name, and it was so hilarious. I enjoyed it. It was like, I don't know where they're gonna go with this, but I hope he can hold on to the case as much as possible. And of course, I saw on Twitter both Mandy and Tucker congratulating him. I know many fans are like, "What the hell was that?" Like, I think some people would never expect Otis to win, but it was a perfect ending because he's like the one person you wouldn't imagine was not gonna win. Like, I mean, you probably thought the same way too. So, I think that's about it for this match. I think it was really fun. It was amazing. I think it kept us entertained during these times of crucial times that we needed. So I give thanks to WWE for entertaining me, and of course to everyone who enjoyed the match. So we'll be talking more about this. Like, I don't mostly talk about WWE that often, but this one was more important because I felt this is something we needed, to keep us entertained. So I'll be right back. We'll be talking more about Wrestle-1. Alright, so we're back here. So if you all know, there's been hot news with the Japanese wrestling scene. If you're a fan of New Japan and you guys are enjoying their product, you may have heard of other promotions such as All Japan Pro Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Noah, Dragon Gate, DDT. Don't forget the Yoshi promotions, Stardom, Ice Ribbon, Sendai Girls, and much more. This promotion, I was following them for almost 2 years because I did not know who they were until I found out who was the owner and the guy who formed it. This promotion is called Wrestle-1. Now, I'm originally going to talk about this promotion at part of the discussions soon, as soon as I get everything done. So, what makes this promotion Wrestle-1? As you may or may not have heard, they officially closed the doors to everyone, and they released every talent on their roster from their contracts. The reason this happened was because Wrestle-1 has struggled financially for years. They have been in the red, and they possibly can't go on any further. And the reason I brought this up, Wrestle-1 is part of what I call the third exodus of All Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, I'm gonna explain a whole lot of it in another time, but I'll give you guys a small details. The guy who runs it is KJ Muda, but you know him as the Great Muda. He formed this promotion after he had a fallout with some people within All Japan who eventually fired his Mudo's right hand man, who was supposed to succeed him as the president of All Japan. And he tried to buy back the rights, and it didn't do so well. But instead of fighting for the rights, his stock, he decided to form his own promotion called Wrestle-1. Something, but the name he got that from some sort of like racing or whatever he did. I know his daughter has been involved as one of the actresses in the shows. But you should know, Wrestle-1 had done partnership with many promotions, mostly here. I know they were in partnership with Impact. Who else? Oh yeah, and also their last partners they had was Reality of Wrestling, which is Booker T's promotion out of Houston, Texas. But if you must know, this is the promotion where the current New Japan star Sanada actually trained. He was originally trained by KG Muto, and that's the reason all of it is important. I know Strong Hearts have been there before. They wrestled for many of their titles and whatnot, and that's the whole point of the whole thing. Officially, Wrestle-1 announced early this year, before the coronavirus became a top subject that's been spreading throughout the world. They were going to end their final shows some point through February 1st of this year, but it did not happen. It ended in February. I know that a lot of the staff and felt bad, and I know, like, don't think of this as the end. We know we can see these guys. They will be seen somewhere else. It doesn't matter if it's in New Japan or in Pro Wrestling 01 or All Japan. It wouldn't matter. So I did saw many of matches. They're great. I enjoyed everything. Now, the reason I bring this up is now that Wrestle-1 is now closing their doors, there's been talk about, now they're saying that this could be the opportunity WWE needs to establish a foothold in Japan. We have seen that before, on various occasions. We know they were trying to buy Pro Wrestling Noah, they even tried to buy Stardom, but none of them were successful because the Japanese wrestling scene are not too thrilled to have them there because of what happened in the UK. If you all know, the NXT UK has been disrupting the independent businesses of wrestling down there, and of course, we all know that WWE are trying to take over a lot of the wrestling scene globally. We've seen that they can have now. There's an NXT, and they have the NXT brands both here in the US and in the UK, and they do have a lot affiliations with other promotions independent, like Evolved out here in the US, Progress Wrestling out of the UK, West Side Extreme Wrestling out of Germany, and and who knows? And people are now saying that now that Wrestle-1 is out, they could buy Wrestle-1 and establish a foothold. I'm not sure if that could work, but I do know that they have set their minds to set up a performance center early this year, because they have been talking about this. They even approached the idea to Antonio Inoki and Hiroshi Hase, who are both in the politics in Japan. I know Hase is involved in the board of education and sports, whatever he is, and he's on board of having a performance center. And I do know that two wrestlers down in Japan, one from Big Japan Pro Wrestling, the other from Sendai Girls, are one involved. Now, majority of the wrestlers and promotions are not on board. They're not too thrilled. They're not happy to have WWE set up in their turf. I know for some of you WWE fans, but like, they should be proud. But yes, but you need to remember, if they set up a foothold, it could disrupt the other promotions down there. I mean, we already seen many promotions went out of business, and Triple H said that they could take the promotions that are not treating their wrestlers right. But we don't know how things much down there it is, because we don't know much of the Japanese wrestling market, how it works down there. and that's the thing. And I know that WWE had their sights set to many wrestlers from New Japan and other places, but like I said, not a lot of the Japanese wrestlers or the promotions are interested in having them in their turf. Now, you can say they just got to give it a shot. Well, that's your saying, but from what I'm seeing, the Japanese wrestling scene is not. They are already made that decision. They don't want nothing about it. But you say, but Shinsuke Nakamura, yeah, he did because he took the money. And besides, he's already living his life surfing every day when at where he lives at. And Asuka's happy. Kushida, we don't know. We know he told me left because he was not being utilized enough because of the injuries, and now he's a big star in New Japan. So that's pretty much it. What's been going on now? I will end it with the news updates. So this is from today. So today is hold on, let me look at my phone real quick. Today is May 11th. So Raw should be on, but I will give you guys some news updates, what's been going on in other wrestling worlds, and see what happens. So I'll be right back. So welcome back. So we're doing the news update. I'm gonna start out with WWE since today is May 11th is Raw. As you all know now, Becky Lynch has now relinquished her title. She announced she's pregnant, and the title has been passed on to Asuka. And I know it's shocking news, but at the same time, we couldn't be happier for her. I know it's something difficult for her, but this is something she needs to do first now that she's going to be a mother, and we know that she'll be back somewhere down the line, and we can't wait to see her. So, Becky, congratulations. Hope to see you back. Hope Seth takes good care of you, and we don't know what the baby's going to be, but we can't wait to hear once it happens. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about, this was interesting news that came on today. Now, as you know, I mentioned a while ago, Su Yung is now a free agent. She's no longer was working with Impact, but apparently with tough negotiations, Su Yung is now re-signed with Impact Wrestling. But in addition of this, they signed Susie, her not the alive ego of her, which I'm like, what? I'm still, myth with the whole thing. I'm just still trying to. I don't know. I thought it was kind of hilarious, but it's so fun to see that. I'm very trying to. I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be fun. We're gonna see Su Yung and Susie. Like one day we'll see Su Yung, one day we'll see Susie. I don't know, but it's gonna be interesting because I don't know if Su Yung, whatever her real name is, filed for trademark character for this one, because I think many people are finding the Susie character very interesting, and I think it would be a challenge for Su Yung playing two characters. The undead bride, and then there's the living bride, as I like to call it. But we'll see what happens. And I think that's pretty much it for today. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment down below if there's anything you like, if there's anything that I miss, or there's something that I did messed up. You can do that. Click like, subscribe, whatever. So, hope everybody's staying safe and you're washing your hands. So, I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang!